Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another tutorial on ISTQB Foundation Level certification. We are in chapter 4 talking about test analysis and design and continuing ahead with our same segment, that is 4.4 experience based test technique. And as a part of today's tutorial, we'll be talking about the next technique, which is checklist based testing. So before we start talking about this technique in detail, let me just give you a quick outline of what is meant by a checklist. So checklist is basically a questionnaire which consists of several questions which you ask about a particular product when you're testing it. However, this is very widely even used in static testing, but the checklist will be designed specially for a work product then. For an example, if I have to review a user story, I will have questions related to user story. For example, I can talk about things like whether the user story is clear, understandable, achievable, has a clear set of acceptance criteria, whether user persona is identified, whether user story is independent, testable, small, and sort of thing. So I will have some 15 to 20 questions which I generally have to answer it as yes or no. Given that if all the questions have an answer as yes, the story is reviewed, ready for implementation or picking up in the sprint. Same way, if any question turns into no, then that's a defect in the review of the user story. Now that's same checklist based testing, but used for static testing. But when it comes to dynamic testing as a technique, then it is more about the product. So say for example, if I'm trying to test a particular remote control, like you might certainly have a TV at home. So you can just imagine your TV remote in your hand. Now, certainly we don't write an Excel sheet to test a TV remote. We rather prefer having a checklist because these are very standard products and certainly comes with standard features. So I don't really have to write a test case that pick the remote in hand, then step 2, click on the red button. It should have a circle with another circle with a hyphen. No, that's a waste of time. So when it comes to a hardcore product, things like, a microwave oven, refrigerator, or probably an iron box or, TV and whatnot, all the appliances, equipments, etc., we do not write detailed test cases. We make use of checklist, where checklist consists of all that question which should be answered in terms of making sure the product is working dynamically fine and then finding any defect. So say for example, if remote I'm testing, I would make sure that the questions are like whether the remote has power button red in color, whether all of the buttons are black in color, whether the numbers are printed clearly, whether the numbers are clearly or readable by the user. So people will pick up a remote and perform all this actually on the product. Same way, if the volume button has a plus or minus icon on it, and whether the channel button has a plus or minus icon on it. So all these will become my question and will put together be called as a checklist. A checklist is basically a questionnaire which is used instead of test cases to test a system. Okay, so now let's talk about the characteristics of this technique, that what exactly a checklist based testing is all about. So the most important thing in checklist based testing, a tester again designs, implements, and execute tests to cover test conditions from a checklist. Checklists can be built based on experience, knowledge about what is important for the user, or an understanding of why and how the software fails. So the most important point here is, hey, if you want, you can create a one-liner test case from here as well, but not detailed again, high level one-liner. But the most important thing is, what is checklist? Who prepares it? So of course, a tester's experience is very much important in order to define the checklist. Now, additionally, checklist should not contain items that can be checked automatically, items better suited for entry or exit criteria, or items that are too general. So of course, it's very important that we should only include the things what is applicable for checklist, because it's not that if things are being automated, then let this be covered by automation, or things which are basically related to entry and exit criteria, then it should be included in entry and exit criteria. So all we are trying to say that what we already have as a document should not be a part of checklist. Checklist should be uniquely talking about the functionalities and validating them. Now, right here, checklist items are often phrased in form of questions. It should be possible to check each item separately and directly. These items may refer to requirement, graphical interface properties, quality characteristics, or other form of test condition. So it can be any type of requirement which you can review by checklist, but again, it has to be written in the form of question which you ask to the product, and if it is true, yes. If it is not, it's a defect. Next, checklists can also be created to support various test types, including functional and non-functional. Quite often people think that checklists are only limited to functional testing, but indeed, it can be very helpful in non-functional testing also. Further to add, of course, some checklist entries may gradually become less effective over time because the developers will learn to avoid making the same errors. New entries may also need to be added to reflect newly found high severity defects. Therefore, checklists should be regularly updated based on defect analysis. Now, let me tell you something very important. The only drawback of checklist, or only drawback of having checklists being used in any industry, is that they are not time to time updated. We just create it once, and most often they are left as it is. I'm not sure if you have been to a service of your vehicle recently. Let it be two-wheeler, four-wheeler, whatever, right? A car or a bike. The person from the service center comes with a checklist. He starts your ignition, checks the horn, indicator, lights, etc., tires, and everything. And he has a checklist in his hand, to be frank. And he keeps ticking yes, no, whether it is working or not. And whatever is not working, he will let you know that, so that he claims that it was already not functioning well. Do you want me to fix it? If you say, no, that's fine, I don't want to invest right now, then he says, yeah, just sign it here that it's not working, right? And all the dents and scratches will be all mentioned. Now that checklist is exactly the same thing what you saw 5 years ago in his hand. So most often things like checklist are left unattended. However, the product has revolved around over a period of time. And let me tell you something, you go to a car service center, they will bring the same checklist no matter which model car it is. Correct? The same company has so many models of car, but they still use a very common checklist. Why? Because they cannot maintain that. It's difficult to maintain multiple things, but it doesn't happen in our industry. Given that things are different because they are managing it and we don't manage it. So make sure that when it comes to our software or product, which evolves every year, renews, adds new feature, then make sure those new features are added. Common mistakes are added. The things which are no longer in the product should be removed. So checklists should be reviewed and updated quite often as and when the version changes. Finally, to add here that however, care should be taken to avoid letting the checklist become too long. In the absence of detailed test cases, checklist-based testing can provide guidelines and some degree of consistency for testing. If the checklists are high level, some variability in the actual testing is likely to occur, resulting in potentially greater coverage but less repeatability. However, we know that all these are experience-based test techniques, so we don't expect the things like documentation, like checklists, to be as long as possible. We try to make it as high level as possible so that it is very to the point and just caters the need of the tester. But sometimes making this very, very high level could only be understandable by the tester. Thus, repeating these test cases would become very difficult. You need the same person to perform this again, or you will really need the detailed test cases, which will be against the informal techniques. So point being made is that make sure that you have a very moderate thing, not too long, but at the same time not so high level that it becomes difficult for repeating the test cases if in case you need. However, it will still help you to map to the respective requirements and measure the required coverage, what you may need in order to define the coverage measurement. So that's all from the checklist-based testing techniques team, and I hope you have got a good understanding of that too. So that's all from this particular tutorial. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video team, and happy learning.